Barnaby Butterborough wasn't like other farmers. For one, he collected mismatched socks. He also had a nose for trouble, sniffing it out like a truffle pig after a summer rain. One Tuesday, or was it a Wednesday, Barnaby could never quite recall, he found a single green welly in his turnip patch. Now, this wasn't unusual in itself. Muddy footwear had a habit of appearing on his farm, but this welly was pristine, not a speck of dirt. Most peculiar, Barnaby scratched his beard. A bushy thing that housed a family of sparrows, or so the village gossips claimed. His gaze swept over the rolling hills of his village, a place called Bleater's Bottom, so named for the rather vocal sheep population. The village was nestled between two hills that looked suspiciously like a giant had taken a bite out of the landscape. It was a place where sheep outnumbered people and, frankly, had better hairstyles. The sun was setting, casting long shadows that danced with the wind. Barnaby squinted, a strange feeling creeping up his spine. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. He decided to investigate. After all, it was far too early for bed, even for a farmer with a penchant for mismatched socks. Bleater's Bottom was a quiet place, except for the bleating. Of course, the sheep were a chatty bunch, always gossiping about the latest wool trends or the price of alfalfa. They held meetings in the middle of the night, their bars echoing through the valley like ghostly whispers. Barnaby often suspected they ran the village, but he kept those thoughts to himself. As he ventured out into the deepening twilight, clutching his trusty pitchfork, one couldn't be too careful. He noticed an unusual silence. The sheep, usually engaged in a symphony of bass, were eerily quiet. Not a single bar or may disturbed the peace. This was more than peculiar. It was downright suspicious. Barnaby's nose twitched. A faint, earthy smell hung in the air like freshly dug earth. He followed his nose, his trusty wellyless foot crunching on the dry grass. There, in the middle of his prize-winning turnip patch, he found a sight that made his jaw drop. Or at least it would have if it hadn't already hit the ground with a dull thud. His prize-winning turnips, large as melons and twice as juicy, were gone, vanished. Only a few stray leaves and a lingering smell of turnip remained. Barnaby felt a pang of sadness, followed by a surge of indignation. Stealing a farmer's turnips was a low blow, even for Bleater's Bottom standards. Then he heard it, a soft, rhythmic crunching sound coming from the nearby sheep pen. Inside, illuminated by the moonlight, he saw a sight that made his blood run cold. The sheep, all of them, were munching on something with gusto, and it wasn't alfalfa. They looked up, their eyes glowing in the darkness, bits of turnip clinging to their woolly chins. Barnaby was stunned. The sheep, those fluffy, seemingly innocent creatures, had stolen his turnips. He couldn't believe it. They looked so innocent, so fluffy. He'd always thought of them as more of a nuisance than actual threats. He stormed into the pen, waving his pitchfork and bellowing, "You woolly fiends, you've eaten all my turnips!" The sheep, startled, scattered in a flurry of wool and startled bass. But as the dust settled, one sheep remained, chewing calmly. It looked at Barnaby, burped delicately, and then continued eating. Barnaby was speechless. This wasn't just theft. It was audacity of the highest order. He shook his fist at the sheep, sputtering with indignation. He'd tell the whole village. He'd expose their crimes. Those fluffy fiends wouldn't get away with this. He marched through the village, recounting his tale of woe and deceit. But to his astonishment, no one believed him. Sheep eating turnips? Preposterous, they scoffed. Those gentle creatures wouldn't hurt a fly. Barnaby was flabbergasted. He pointed out the remnants of turnip greens, the suspicious smell, the sheep's blatant disregard for his accusations, but the villagers just shook their heads and patted his arm sympathetically. Poor Barnaby, they'd say. The stress of farming is getting to him. From that day forward, Barnaby Butterborough became known as the eccentric farmer who swore his turnips were stolen by sheep. He knew the truth, though. He'd seen it in their beady little eyes, heard it in their satisfied burps, and he learned a valuable lesson that day. Those sheep lie.